Welcome to the Host Planet Playbook, your go-to guide for mastering short-term rentals. In this special series, we're sitting down with 30 of the world's top property managers to uncover what really drives success in the vacation rental industry. You'll hear their stories, learn the key lessons they've picked up along the way, and discover the game-changing tech they use to deliver 5-star guest experiences. If you're serious about growing your STR business, you're in the right place. We've also developed an ebook featuring the stories of every manager in this series, and you can download it for free. Head to hostplanet.club to find out more. In today's episode, we're chatting to Emma Kelman from the Island Holiday Company in the Isle of Wight. Stand by for a deep dive into island hosting, delivering everything under one roof, and phantom gas leaks, which lead to more business. This special series is brought to you by Host Planet and Hospitable, the smart AI-powered property management software trusted by hosts worldwide. With Hospitable, you can automate guest messaging, sync calendars across platforms, and manage your rentals with ease, all from one powerful, easy-to-use platform. If you're keen to run your short-term rental on autopilot, try Hospitable today. Visit hospitable.com/hostplanet to see how the platform can save you time, reduce stress, and maximize your earnings. Emma, thank you for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Let's start with you. What's the name of your company? Where are you located? And how many rentals do you manage?
Hi, James. Thank you very much for inviting me. So my business is the Island Holiday Company. We're based on the Isle of Wight and we have 128 properties and growing.
Fantastic. So tell us, how did you get involved in the world of short-term rentals?
I took a really big risk in 2017 and decided to move out of my very pretty cottage into a pretty much derelict property. And I decided to holiday let it. I've always loved properties. I've always had an interest in travel and holidays. And just thought, you know what, it's a bit of a gamble, but I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. And hit the ground running, really. And it's kind of the basis for me doing what I do now.
So how did you go from that one property to over 120 today? Tell us about the journey.
So at the time I launched my holiday let, I set up an interior design business as well. And I started taking on clients, I started getting busy, and I was approached by a local law firm and they said, you know, you should be looking at doing property management because you're very good at managing properties and contractors. And it's something we could do with having someone to work with. And I started sort of picking up properties, like doing inspections and things like that. And then I had a friend who said to me, can you keep an eye out for any cleaning work? And I was doing an interior design project for another holiday letting agency. I sort of said, oh, you know, have you got any cleaning? I've got a friend that's looking for some cleaning work. Can we help you with that? And they were like, yes, great. So I started taking on properties for cleaning. And I knew what my expectation was as an owner. And it just grew and grew and grew. And then COVID hit. And we'd gone from having, I think we were doing property management and housekeeping on about 32 properties, and then between October and March, when COVID hit, we doubled. We went to 64, which was quite a lot. We were doing those changeovers over 2 days, so it was like a military operation in itself. But I've got a very strong sales and property background. I've been in property since I was in my mid-20s. And just seeing how some other agencies behaved through COVID, some of the larger companies, it was quite poor. And I thought, you know, looking at what we were doing, we were so good at what we were doing. I thought, actually, let's go back to my roots. I never really meant to set up a cleaning business. It kind of happened by accident. And I thought, you know what, I think it would make really good sense for us to have a business that did everything under one roof. I had a handful of properties that I was managing myself at that point, that was picking up from doing interior design projects, had my own property, and about another 8 properties. And then I spoke to my clients who I was looking after, and we were doing the property management for them. And I said, I'm going to be doing this. Would you be interested in joining me? And they were all like, yes, absolutely. We're on board with this. And I think we started off about 17 properties. And the more we were talking about what we were doing, the more we were reaching out across social media and networking. It just become really apparent that people could see the benefits of having one business that looked after absolutely everything for them. I mean, yes, there are other local businesses that can organise a fully managed service, but they don't have everything under one roof like we do. We have got our own in-house housekeeping team, and they are amazing at what they do. And I think people could see what we were doing, what we're trying to achieve, and thought, actually, this makes sense. Because quite often, if people were getting bad reviews, it was often on things like the cleaning or response time and things like that. But we were saying, actually, no, we're local. We're on the ground. We can look after your property. We've got your back all the way through. And it's just been a really popular. It's just been a really popular service, and it's just grown and grown and grown.
So tell us a little bit more about the Isle of Wight then. What are your average guests like? And in terms of the island holiday company, why do you stand out in the Isle of Wight?
So our average guest, I think we are very much a seasonal island, and I think our guests change through the year. We have very much families, which I'm sure most businesses do at peak periods. Outside of that, I would say it's people travelling, sort of older couples and people travelling with their pets, because that seems to be really popular. We're a very pet-friendly island. You can even bring your dog over on the ferry. It's even got its own designated dog area with dog treats you can buy on the ferry. And I think what makes us individual in terms of what we do as a business, well, I've been on the island since I was 3, so I live and breathe the Isle of Wight. It's beautiful here. And I think in terms of what we do is, we've got a very unique setup. We've got our own in-house housekeeping team. We've got our own in-house laundry services. We've got our own in-house full-time marketing executive now as well, which is a new move that we've just recently done. And I think, if you look at our branding, we've got the Lighthouse, which a lot of people say, have you ever been to Isle of Wight? Oh, yes, I went there as a child on a school trip. We went to the Needles and got the coloured sand. So we're really well, we are. That's what we're known for. So our logo is the Needles Lighthouse, and I think it's just a really nice, smart logo, and that kind of links to what we do, and people recognise us for that.
What are your top tips for delivering an outstanding guest experience?
I think being consistent in doing what we do. Things aren't always as smooth as it can be, but your first step is to make sure the property is guest ready. I always look at it, if I'm going on holiday somewhere, how do I want to feel? It's an emotional connection. When you're going on holiday, you walk in and you want to go, oh, wow, it's just how I saw it in the photos. It's got to look that good. So it's making sure it's presented and cleaned to a high standard right from the beginning, and making sure that the guest is satisfied with their stay. Now, we can't please everybody and things do go wrong, but it's not what goes wrong, it's how you put it right. And I think for me personally, I like it if we go, oh, this guest's got a problem. And sometimes we need to quantify that problem. And it's picking up the phone and speaking to the guest, making sure that the guest is happy with what you're doing. Sometimes it's even a case of going out there and actually seeing them. So first thing, like I say, is making sure the property is guest ready. Second is making sure the communication is really, really good. And third, I think if you get a problem, which happens a lot, making sure that you deal with that as swiftly as you can, you're responsive and you follow it through and make sure the guest is happy with the response.
Yeah, try and turn that negative into a positive. In terms of owners then, what are your top tips for keeping owners happy?
I think it's making sure that you do what you say you're going to do. Be honest with your owners, and I am very honest with my owners, and I say, sometimes it might not be what you want to hear, but would rather be honest with you, and making sure you set expectations at the beginning. As an example, I always say to all of our owners, your first year, your home or your holiday home is a business. Any new business has got to establish itself, and that is how you need to look at your holiday let. So to set your expectations on how we're going to make sure that's done right for you, we will make sure that we are keeping the pricing so it's competitive against other properties that are like yours, because you need to be a little bit below other properties if they're well established, because you should be concentrating on getting people through the door and getting the reviews and building up your expectations. So that's really, really important. Secondly, is making sure we do what we say we're going to do. We say we're going to do something for our owner. Let's make sure we do it. Same basis of guess. If there's a problem, we need to quantify what that problem is and what we can do to resolve it, and pick up the phone and talk to people and deliver that personable service, because I'm very much a face-to-face person, and I do think people buy people, and I think it's really great to buy someone right at the beginning when you're giving them your business, but let's follow that through and keep that relationship going, and just keeping a good relationship with your owners. I mean, I would say the majority of clients that came on when I set my business up, unless their circumstances change, are still with us. And I think that says a lot about what we do as a business and the service that we deliver.
You said earlier that you set up the business at the same time as you were setting up a interior design business. So talk to us about interior design. How important is it? And what are the key tips that you can share with people to get it right when they set up a property?
So interior design is really important. It's not something I do. I love it, but I just haven't got the time to do it anymore. I'm very passionate about properties and how they look. So if I'm speaking to owners now, I generally say, I can't do interior design for you, but I can point you in the right direction, or I can give you some ideas. I would say for someone that's looking to set up their own holiday home, or if I've got somebody else setting up a new holiday home, Pinterest is really great for getting ideas. The more you explore it, the more it broadens your view of design, and you can narrow down the type of things that you like, but also to look at other holiday lets, look at how they're presented. And, quite often, what I found when I started in property management is I'd go into these properties and they were just bare. You had, don't get me wrong, they had all the basics. They had the furniture that was needed, but there was no soft furnishings, or there wouldn't be any cushions. There'd be no ornaments, no pictures on the wall. They were just bland and clinical. And I used to pick them up and go, right, okay, I think if you can just give us a budget of, I don't know, £500, can we please go in, get you some throws, some cushions, get some cushions for your bed, get some pictures and mirrors on the wall, get a bit of greenery in. So important, because no one wants to just look at a picture of a TV unit with a TV in a room. It's emotional. Again, it's emotional buying, and you kind of want to appeal to people. So it's all about presentation. And one thing which we're really focusing on at the moment as an agency, and we're still working on it, is kind of building in more lifestyle shots, a few extra little bits sort of in the photos, like magazines and books and things like that, and making sure that they're dressed. So that's something which we will help with as well. We don't charge any extra for that, but we kind of feel that it's worth the input of doing that. But it is all about presentation, and you want it to look good in your photos, and we can assist with that to a degree. But it's very important to make sure you get that right from the beginning, because then you hit the ground running.
Makes a lot of sense. I always like to see a little bit of consistency in photos with nice colours, and I don't know, like you say, the furnishings, and it might be like a nice kettle or whatever it is, just showcasing the property as well as you can, because so many listings I look at, the photos are a bit dark and there's no consistency, there's no real colour in there. So it
Or
can make such a
lighting.
big difference. Yeah, light, oh gosh,
Absolutely.
lighting.
And that's another thing. If I go into a property and there's just the main light, I'll be like, floor lamp, table lamps, you need these things in there and some ornaments and things like that. We will do that for people. We will charge them for it. But we kind of say, just a small budget, just to liven it up a little bit so it's more appealing in your photos. And people are quite receptive of that. And I think, we're being recognised as being local property experts, and people know, they value our experience and our advice. And it's really good because we get that really good working relationship quite early on. And, we've got this kind of agreement with the majority of our owners that are just like, we know you know what you're doing. We'll leave it to you. And it's great because then we can just make sure we're doing the absolute best we can for their occupancy, and making sure we get them as much revenue as we can.
Yeah, and getting those photos right from day one, it is so important. Back to the Isle of Wight a little bit then. What are the main challenges and opportunities in your area?
So the main challenges can be ferries, I suppose, and what that can be weather dependent. Or if they break down, that can be a bit of a challenge. So that can set people back sometimes. But actually, it's part of the holiday. If you want to go somewhere nice, quite often we have to get on a plane. And I think for a lot of people, and for me as well, I find this if I'm going on holiday, the beginning of my journey when I'm going on holiday is getting on the ferry because I know I'm going on holiday. And I think we're quite unique to the being on the Isle of Wight, that you do have to get the car ferry to come over. And of course, you come across on hovercraft as well, which is an experience in itself. And it's actually quite a nice part of the journey. So it has its challenges, but it has its benefits as well. And, we often joke with people coming over, don't forget your passport. Don't need a passport, by the way, but we do normally have a bit of a giggle about that. But yes, it can have its challenges. There can sometimes be delays, which can't do much about. But I think when you get here, the journey is worth it. In terms of opportunities, I think opportunities for us on the Isle of Wight at the moment, which I'm sure is more of an, not necessarily for the island, I think it's more of an industry thing at the moment, but what we've seen recently, or what I've seen recently, is more properties coming on which have never been holiday let because of the double council tax. So for me, I've seen that as a bit of an opportunity rather than a negative thing, because you've got people that have got second homes that still want to keep their second homes. And now all of a sudden, not only are we saving them money, we're making them money as well, which is great.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity for those people who, getting stung with that extra council tax. Is not nice to pay too much council tax. No. Get yourself onto business rates. That might be the next thing
we do.
to consider.
Yeah, we recommend that, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, then. So what's the biggest lesson learned you've had since setting up the business?
Oh, wow. The biggest lesson. Wow, I don't really know. There's been so many lessons that you learn along the way. I think if I was going to make a recommendation for someone that was going to start on this journey, I think I would say to do as much networking at short-term rental events as you can before you start your business and get as much information as possible. I think there's so much that I've found that I'm learning now and have been learning all the way through, and I'm still learning. I don't think you ever really stop learning in an industry because things change and evolve all the time. But I think if you can speak to people that are already in the business and get ideas and find out what went well for them, what's gone wrong, any good, top tips and good advice, you could probably save yourself thousands of pounds, because mistakes can be costly. I think it's so easy to get an idea or concept in business and go, I'm going to do this. And, good on anybody that does that, because it's always a big risk and it's a lot of hard work and you have to be very determined and dedicated. But I think with me, I ran 3 separate businesses before I set up the holiday letting business. And this has definitely been the one that has had the most challenges, because just the dynamics of running a business, the complexities of running a business like this. I think it's very easy to go, oh, I'm just going to set up a holiday letting business. And you hear other people going, oh, we've had these people come around to our house, they're just setting up. And it sounds awful, but they've got no idea. They've got no property background. They've just gone, I'm going to go and look after holiday lets. But they don't know what they're doing. And you are being entrusted with hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of someone's property. And that's quite scary. I think that people do that. I mean, I had a background, very strong background knowledge in property. So I always knew my clients were going to be well looked after. But I think that really anybody that's looking to get in this industry should ideally have some sort of background in property or property knowledge, or at least have somebody involved in the business that's got that, to make sure it's robust. But also, like I say, get as much information as you can, speak to people in the industry, pull on their knowledge, ask those questions, get top tips, and then make sure that you've got all of that information, so that you can hit the ground running, provide a great service, but also have some reassurance that you've spoken to experts in the industry and you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it is a really fast-paced industry. And like you say there, it is changing and developing all the time. And there are some brilliant events. And of course, we are running many of them at Host Planet. So check out the events page on our website. One of them will be in Portsmouth with Emma in March 2026, off the top of my head. Go to our events page. You will find out all the details, part of our Host Planet Roadshow. So come along to that and learn from the experts. You will. I mean, any event I go to, there's always a light bulb moment somewhere where it's like, oh, wow, yeah, that is a great idea.
Every time. And I love it because it's nice to learn and speak to like-minded people about, what's gone well, what didn't go well, what did you hear about this? But I think if you can get all of that information very early on, I think you can put together a very robust business. But it's not for the faint-hearted, I can tell you that.
Absolutely not. And one of the reasons I set up this platform is because, the knowledge gap of a lot of people is quite low. I'd include myself in that when I started out. So, head to our website, so many free resources there, free downloads, blog posts, podcasts, everything you can think of. So that can help everybody on their journey. Just before we get to our quick fire questions, then, Emma, what do you love most about hosting?
Creating happy memories. Whenever you go on holiday, it's a lifestyle thing, isn't it? And you're looking at where you want to go with your partner or your parents or your children or your pets. And ultimately, when you leave, you're taking those memories with you. And I just think it's such an important part of living and enjoying life, being able to have these moments and that downtime to reflect. A lot of people make big life changes on holiday. And I think for me, when we get the feedback from our guests about how lovely their stay's been, how clean the property was and how helpful the team's been, it makes it all worthwhile.
Super. Well said. Okay, then a few more quickfire questions now. Which PMS do you use?
I use Avantio.
And which dynamic pricing tool do you use?
Beyond Pricing.
Which piece of tech couldn't you live without?
My phone.
Yes. Where would we be?
I've had to think about this. I was thinking tech, and as you're thinking about all the different techs that link in with what you do. And actually, if I didn't have my phone, I wouldn't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I wouldn't know what I'm doing at the end of the day. It even reminds me to pick my children up from school. I know that sounds really bad, but I lose time in the day, and I get a reminder up to leave to go pick the children up. My whole life is on there. I wouldn't know when I was going on holiday, when my plane was. So phone, 100%.
I think we all get it. I know the answer to this already, but pets, yes or no?
100% yes.
Hot tubs, yes or no?
See, I always be very much yes to hot tubs. hot tubs are great. They can increase your occupancy, but when they go wrong, they're a pain. Or if your contractor lets you down doing your hot tub changeover, we don't really have that problem, but sometimes things can get lost in translation, and then you're looking at compensation. So I'm on the fence a little bit with that. I haven't got a hot tub at either of my holiday lets because I just think sometimes they can be a bit more trouble than they're worth.
On the fence, but edging towards no, it sounded like.
I think so, yeah. But as time's gone by, to begin with, I was like, yeah, have a hot tub, they're great.
Ideally, self-check-in or a personal welcome?
Oh, I'd love to do a personal welcome. I do regularly see guests at one of my properties because I've got a heated swimming pool there, and it's nice. And I think you consistently tend to get 5-star reviews with that personal service. But the logistics of actually doing that are very difficult. So I think from a business continuity and ease, it's got to be safe. Key safe.
The self-check-in, yeah. Makes all our lives a bit easier. Telephone call or an AI response?
Telephone call. AI will be good, I think, and we are looking at that, and we're actually in the process of setting up AI as we speak. And I think for managing day-to-day operations, it might help, or kind of just basic queries. But I think it's exactly the same that, if you've got a complaint or you've got someone that's unhappy for any reason, it's always better to speak to a person.
What's your most memorable hosting moment?
Good or bad?
You decide.
I think my most memorable one, we had this property, and at the time, the business had been fairly newly set up as a holiday letting agency, and we'd just taken this property on, and there was a rather unusual neighbour who had been known to take keys out of the door with decorator in there and locking him in the house, and doing some rather unusual events going on at this property. And had this guest ring me up. He'd stayed before as a repeat guest. I have some concerns. I've spoken to the neighbour's son, and he said that the property's been condemned as a major gas leak. I was like, no, there's no major gas leak there, you'd be pleased to know, and I'm very sorry you've had this experience. And I started chatting to him, we were sort of having a bit of a laugh about it, and he said, actually, I'm really glad I spoke to you because we're actually looking for a property on the island. And I went, oh, okay. What's your plans for it? Are you looking to holiday let it? Yes. So I picked myself up a new client. And I'd say that's got to be one of the most memorable because of the circumstances around it were very odd, but funny looking back. And we turned it into what could have been a disastrous situation into one where we both laughed. And we picked another very nice property up of our portfolio. And I did the interior design on it as well. So there you go.
Wow. Bizarre neighbour leading to a happy new customer. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
What a terrible neighbour. Goodness me. What is going on there? Okay, then. So shout out time. Is there an individual in the STR industry who's helped you and you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, Lisa Rhodes. I've just started working with Lisa. But I would say more from a perspective of what she is doing, generally speaking, for women in the industry, that men are doing a good job as well. I'm not saying it's just women here, but it's nice to have a networking group that kind of sees different set of challenges. Everybody's got different challenges in their life. Of course they have. But I think sometimes when especially you've got families and you've got children and things like that, the dynamics of running a business can be more complex. And I love what she is doing. She's a very nice lady, really positive and supportive. And I think she's great. So that's who I would give my shout out to.
Superb shout out for Lisa there, and very well deserved. Ultimate goal for your property management business?
I think it's just to keep evolving. The business is it's evolving all the time. The industry is evolving, and we're evolving as a business and with the industry. We're continuing to grow. We might kind of tweak our properties in terms of the type of properties that we offer. I'd say we're sort of more mid to high end properties. And I think we just want to continue growing. We're the biggest independent on the Isle of Wight now. And I would say we're actually proving to be very, very strong competition for larger businesses that are also located on the island. And I would say, in terms of our offering and what we're doing and our investment as a business with our marketing, and we're starting to work with influencers as well, I really think that we set ourselves apart from our competition by a long way. And I can just see that getting better and better and growing and growing. And it's just not showing any signs of slowing down. I mean, we had, this time last year, we had 71 properties. We're now at 128. And we're still onboarding new clients every week. So I'd like us to continue growing. I want the team to continue growing, and I want us to continue to still have that personal touch that we do now. It's really important to me. And I think slowly but surely, let's take over the Isle of Wight.
Love it. Taking over the Isle of Wight. Superb. Isle of Wight domination. Fantastic. Emma, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being part of the Host Planet Playbook.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, that's it for today's episode. My thanks to Emma for sharing her journey and for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Remember, this series is brought to you in partnership with Hospitable, the all-in-one property management software designed to save you time and help your business thrive. Hospitable automates your guest messaging, syncs your calendars across platforms, handles team tasks, and so much more, so you can focus on delivering a top-notch guest experience or just get some of your time back. And here's the good news. Host Planet Playbook listeners get an exclusive 14-day free trial plus 25% off for the first 3 months. Head to hospitable.com/hostplanet to claim your offer and start running your rentals on autopilot. And for more free education for vacation rental hosts, head to hostplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download our suite of ebooks. Until next time, happy hosting.